We appreciate you watching and listening to The Dead Jeff Show. Please like and subscribe and tune in for more videos. It's a great day to be alive on The Dead Jeff Show. Welcome in, everybody. I'm Jeff. He's Nick. And man, the plot thickens in Dallas. What an incredible day yesterday. Really incredible second half. And I guess if you're an Eagles fan, it was an incredible first half with a dismal second half. So nothing pleases us more than watching the Eagle fans suffer. But this episode today is going to be jam-packed with Cowboys. Cowboys, like lots of it. So I know we said we'd talk us a little college football, maybe some other things. We'll see if we have enough time to get to that. But Nick, Cowboys win 24-21, come back from a 3-touchdown deficit. Dak goes off in the second half and has 354 yards for 2 touchdowns. Pickens, 9 for 146 yards and a touchdown. And Javonte Williams, 20 carries for 87 yards. And my boy, CeeDee Lamb, 4 catches for 75 yards. So, Nick, give us your thoughts. Cowboys 24, Eagles 21.
I think you mentioned it there. I love watching the Eagles fans suffer. Nothing makes me happier. Love getting to spy on, some of the Philly talk shows and listen to what they're suffering with. Outside of that thought, the defense is we'll get into it later, but the defense is making me kind of eat my own words. I'm happy for it, kind of. I hate being wrong, but they do look really, really good. And then when this offense is going at its best, there may not be a better offense in football. Now, how consistently can they play at that level, I think will be the question. They definitely seem to rise up after a slow start. They seem to rise up against really good defenses. There's a lot of numbers I can show you that some of the best defenses in the league have really, really struggled against the Cowboys offense. So, yeah, I think my initial takeaway is what a fantastic win. This, to me, feels season altering because if you look ahead, we kind of always talk about what's coming. And now it looks like, without having the hope word creep in here, it looks like everything is in front of Dallas if they go take care of business.
Yeah, we talked about that hope word in our text exchange yesterday is, oh, here comes the hope. Are they setting us up for heartbreak, or will this be the time they get over the hump? And I'll tell you, the most impressive thing for me was in past years when the Cowboys would dig themselves a hole like this, they would be done mentally, and they would maybe get back just enough to be competitive, but rarely did they come all the way back in a situation like this to win the game. And I think we need to talk about that a little bit, about the Cowboys digging themselves a hole early and climbing out of it.
Yeah, this is a front-running team. The Dallas Cowboys, primarily with Dak Prescott, but we'll just say over the last few seasons in particular, are a front-running team. There is a very standard operating procedure for Cowboys wins. They jump out to a big lead, or they get the ball first, and then they kind of take the air out of the ball, and they score, and then they just kind of play just a possession exchange game. Generally speaking, if Dallas gets down by any substantial amount of points, that game is pretty much over. Like you said, sometimes they can make it competitive. At least they can get back in. They can, fight and claw their way back in. But this game never felt, from an offensive standpoint, what Dallas was doing offensively, they were never chasing points. It never felt like we're going to get way outside of ourselves and do something different or goofy here. Which I felt early on, like, man, this feels like a blowout. This doesn't feel like it's going well. And even as they were sticking to the script, I kind of got frustrated of like, man, y'all are down 3 scores. Like, what are we doing? That's why I'm not coaching in the NFL, man. Because credit to Schottenheimer, credit to the offensive coaching staff for just staying within the system, right? There's a great post game where Schot's talking about, can you lose the game in the first quarter? Can you lose it in the second quarter? And the guys are just, man, they're fighting into it and they're all hyped. And then he says, but what about that fourth quarter? And it's just, obviously this coaching staff and the team is really rallied around that thought process.
I do have a little bit different opinion on that. You can't win the game in the first, second, or third, but you can lose it in the first, second, or third. I think he's talking about winning the game. You win it in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, if I said lose, that's
Yeah.
wrong. He said win. Can you win the game in the first?
Yeah.
That's the if you watch the clip, he's saying, "Can you win in the first? Can you win?" But essentially, just stay the course, right? That's the mantra that he's trying to get into, and I think they proved it yesterday.
Well, and at halftime, we're sitting here going, look at all the self-inflicted wounds, the bad time penalties, and we've talked about this on the podcast before. When the Cowboys make a penalty, they do it big. They don't just get these little penalties. They do it in big situations where big plays are called back, or it's on a third down or a fourth down, and we're trying to get off the field, and we commit the penalties. So penalties, turnovers, just a lot of self-inflicted wounds in that first half.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you said it, right? It's they raise it to an art form. Not only am I going to let you extend the drive, I'm going to let you extend it on 4th and 12 with the roughing the kicker. That should or shouldn't have been different conversation. Um, and then the offsides, we get off the field. So there's all these things where, again, like I said earlier, this felt like a blowout for a quarter and a half. It felt like they didn't even belong on the same field. Um, and that's a very, very different feeling because they were able to come back. It in the past, this game is over, and it probably ends up being a 40-point loss. And Philly certainly had their chances to blow it open, even after being up 21-0.
Yeah, in the past, this game, probably would have ended up like a 40-28 or something like that, where the Cowboys came back just enough to make it, like we said, competitive. But down 21-0, and that drive right before the half was the key to the comeback, right? You're going in with some points, you're feeling, a little bit of momentum, and then the funniest thing about that is the defense showed up in the second half.
You got you got 21 points given up in 3 consecutive drives, and then you don't give up points again for the rest of the game. If someone forced me to put money on that, I would have found a way to get away from you because that's not possible. This defense that for the first 9 weeks of the season were bottom of the league in basically every major category. And I'm going to give you a few stats here in a second, just because I don't know if you know these stats. And I was trying to give myself some silver lining of I was right about the trade for Quinnen Williams. I was right about Wilson. I was right about Overshown coming back from it. I just wanted something to redeem myself.
Don't forget the DBs coming
The
back. Too.
DBs coming back. I wanted something to make me feel like, all right, at least I still have some leg to stand on. I really don't. And it's even worse than I thought it was in terms of how much better. Now, it's 2 games, small sample size. The Raiders offense is what it is. The Eagles offense, presumably should be considerably better. But yeah, the defense, man, I mean, for all the hate and vitriol that Matt Eberflus got for 9 weeks, it's going to be, you mentioned this, they're going to play better enough to the point that Eberflus isn't going to lose his job. We are staring that reality in the face.
I would like to look in the camera and say I hate being right, but I don't really hate it that much. Now, a couple things we need to address here. Okay, when the Quinnen Williams trade went down, you were terribly against this, saying one defensive tackle cannot make a difference. You were also saying to me that Logan, Overshown coming back, Carson, Revel, not going to make a difference because this is still Eberflus coaching. And we were both on the fire Eberflus campaign. But your Cowboys defense led this comeback with 8 straight possessions of 0 points. Now, how many possessions have we had this year with 0 points?
Probably maybe 8 for the season.
Right. So I just need to remind you that the disruptor that is Quinnen Williams in 2 games has shown up not just on film but in PFF stats and everywhere, and it's all the rage. Quinnen Williams on the field with Kenny Clark, with Osa Odigizua, and it is making an impact immediately. And you got one bad team we played, the Raiders, and one good team against the Eagles. But the defense and special teams really is the reason for this comeback. The offense came along later and started scoring, but it was really the defense and special teams.
You just took, I don't want to tell you, I don't want to say I told you so, but I'm going to tell you I told you so to a different level. That's an art form what you just did. You said it without saying it, but you did it so much worse.
Well, I just wanted to sink in with you that so you understand, and we'll get into some other things you're wrong about later in the show. But what I'll tell you is, I saw this vision in my head before. I told you I could dream of a scenario where those three were on the field together. Eberflus and Schottenheimer have made that happen, and we are seeing the fruits of that sort of creativity. And I'm excited about what that means for the Cowboys. Now, the special teams play, the play of the year maybe, with Elijah Clark getting knocked down to the ground a couple times, then forcing the fumble, and the long snapper jumping on it, totally swung the game in the Cowboys' favor there at the end, because it looked a little, oh, they held us, we got to punt it to them. Here we go.
Yeah, I mean, they've shown that on a loop basically on every show I've watched. Clark getting just beaten all the way down the field. And when I say beaten, I don't mean one-on-one beaten. I mean physically. He got blocked in the back like 3 different times. He got pushed down off the jump. Um, and for him to just hustle down there, I forget who said it on one of the talk shows. You don't have to have any talent to try really hard.
Mm.
Now, it helps to have talent and to try really hard. But on that particular play, man, the dude just never gave up. You got the long snapper getting down there to jump on top of the ball. If ever you wanted to encapsulate the way a game went in terms of just put it into one play for me, show me one play on how this game actually looked, just show them that play on a loop, man. Just absolutely amazing. And the team feeds off of it. They talk about complementary football. Schottenheimer talks about it all the time. A lot of teams do, in fairness, offense, defense, and special teams. And that's what you got here. This 21-point comeback was all three phases dominating the Philadelphia Eagles.
Well, and I think that when you have the mistakes that the Cowboys made in the first half, mostly being self inflicted, I think we had 6 penalties in the first half and only 2 in the second half. Obviously, we had the interception by Dak in the end zone, trying to force the ball into CeeDee, and so it's again self inflicted. But the turnovers that the Cowboys caused, not that the Eagles just gave up, but the Cowboys caused that. Sam Williams making a play on Barkley
Take one, yep.
and punching that ball out. And then we just talked about Elijah Clark making that play and knocking the ball out. And that's what they're coached to do. And that's what they're trying to do a lot. But the fact that, I guess you could talk about some other things with the Eagles being a problem that was self inflicted from them. But for the main part, our mistakes were self induced. And their mistakes, we sort of forced the issue. So, what do you think happened at halftime to shake that defense and offense, woke both of them up? What do you think happened?
Yeah, and I listening to the post game, I know Dak was talking about exactly what you just said. Dak said that in the locker room they were talking about, we're not losing this game, we're beating ourselves. I think there was a genuine sentiment coming out of the post game interviews that no one in the Cowboys locker room felt like Philly is beating us right now. They very much felt like if we clean up some of these mistakes, we can win this game. And I think that's, when you have a rallying cry, and more than anything else, and this is not just relative to football, in life, when you can look at mistakes you've made, when you can objectively just look at a situation and say, all right, man, I'm not giving my best effort here. I'm not doing everything I can do to win or I can do to be my best in this scenario. There's something about that if you're competitive, which these guys are all in the NFL, they're all hyper competitive. There's something that says, all right, now I got to turn it up because now I know it's in front of me. I know I can win. I know I can be better in this area, whatever this area is. So for me, I think that probably has a lot to do with it. A lot to do with, this is on us. This is nothing that Philly's doing to us.
Yeah, and so when we talk about the difference in the two halves, if you're a Philly fan, you're wondering what happened to your offense, because the game started out, it was like it's an AJ Brown festival, right? Hey, AJ Brown's been complaining, let's get him the ball, get him the ball. And they did. They did that, and they got up 3 scores. And then they seemed to forget about AJ Brown, and the run defense for the Cowboys was unbelievable. I think he had 10 for 22, something like that, 10 rushes for 22 yards,
That's right.
Saquon.
Yep.
And And again, not to mention his name too many times, but Quinnen Williams makes a huge difference in that run game. And I just want to make sure I heard you right. You did say you were wrong about that, right?
Yeah, well, since you brought it up again, let me just give you a couple stats here. So before the trade, here are kind of the four big things: points per game, yards, rushing yards, and third down conversions. Dallas was 31st in points per game. They were 31st in yards per game. They were 30th in rushing yards per game. And they were 32nd in third down conversion percentage. And by the way, 52% would have been the second worst third down conversion percentage in the last 50 years. So you are second, third to last, second to last, or last in these major categories. In the 2 weeks since the trade, if you take the numbers, just what they're averaging in the last 2 weeks, they would rank in the NFL fourth in points per game. They're giving up 18 and a half. They would rank fifth in yards per game. They're giving up 287. They would rank first in rushing yards. They're giving up 45 rushing yards against Ashton Genty and Saquon Barkley. And they would rank second in third down conversion at 33%. Quinnen Williams almost single-handed and friends. But here's the thing, and you mentioned this beforehand, and I didn't see it because I didn't trust Eberflus more than anything.
Mm-hmm.
But Quinnen Williams has allowed them clearly to do things different. And then, oh, by the way, of course, talent has come along with them. Deron Bland, and you said it, he's going to keep getting better as the season goes on. I think one of the changes that happened to A.J. Brown yesterday is Deron didn't seem to be following him around in that first quarter.
Mm-hmm.
When he lined up on his side, Deron was there, and if not, then they were looking at A.J. It seemed like Deron followed him, after that first and a half quarter or so, right midway through the second quarter. It seemed like Deron started following around A.J. and Bland looked great. Should have had a pick. AJ made a great defensive play on as the receiver. So yeah, I think Quinnen Williams, again, it's 2 games. It's a small sample size. We'll see what happens with Kansas City. But through 2 weeks, not only is this a better defense, we kept saying if this defense can just be middle of the road, you just have a 14 to 17 ranked defense. This offense means that you will not only be in every single game you play, you probably can beat anybody in the league. That's kind of what we're looking at right now.
All I heard was, Jeff, you were exactly right about what you predicted for this defense. That's what I heard.
You have to have the maestro pipe that in, because I don't think I used those words.
Now, but for real, the impact has been far greater than anyone could have expected. And hopefully it's not fool's gold, right? We know that the Eagles offense has been struggling lately. We know the Raiders offense was putrid at best, and they fired their offensive coordinator because of that. See you later, Chip Kelly. But to me, it's been way more of an impact than people thought. And we've seen some 5-man fronts, which is that creative stuff we've been talking about. And they're adapting. And I think we talked early on Eberflus's scheme, not adapting to the personnel you had, and he didn't have a lot of talent early on. The talent's been upgraded, and the scheme has been adjusted. And you don't hear anybody saying fire Eberflus. I still think that there's better defensive coordinators that we could have, but my fear was they would play better and he would keep his job, and that looks to be the case. Now, after the game, most everybody was happy. Maybe one guy, CeeDee Lamb, was still distraught over his case of the dropsies. Maybe he's allergic to the Eagles.
Yeah, it certainly seems to be that case. So he's got 2 drops on the season out now. These are credited drops. There's going to be a lot of conversation around, are these balls catchable? Are they not catchable? This is just per, PFF on drops. CeeDee Lamb per PFF has 9 drops on the season, 7 of them against the Eagles. So he has 2 outside of the 2 Eagles games, and he has 7 against the Philadelphia Eagles. So yeah, I mean, I think there's something definitely to the lights are brighter as Cowboy in the NFL. It's a little side note. What rivalries in the NFL surpass Philly Dallas? I can't think of any.
Well, I mean, we're sort of biased because we're Cowboy fans, but I'm sure that there, if you're a Kansas City Chiefs fan, maybe the Raiders and Chiefs, maybe
the lack of competitiveness though makes those difficult to say. I think from
overtime.
Okay.
Yeah, because we had a big rivalry with the Redskins, and that went away when they when they started to stink and haven't really recovered,
Or change the name, but yeah.
and changed the name to Commanders. Yeah. So I think it is a big rivalry, and it's big because for the most part, the Philly has dominated this rivalry in the last 5 until yesterday, but Dak has always beaten them at home here at our building, but we always lose, it seems, in
Right.
in their building. So we split with them usually, but the last couple years they've been getting the better of us. So rivalry is, I guess, they come and go a little bit. It's not like it used to be in football, and of course, we hate the Eagles, but we also hate the Giants, and we also hate the Commanders.
Yeah, and the point of me saying that is just back to the topic, is just the lights for the Cowboys. And again, the lack of playoff success helps this feeling, and the lack of playing meaningful games into the latter part of the season. There's very few times in the Cowboy season that the lights are brightest. CeeDee Lamb does not seem like a guy that matters what the stage is, but you've got to at least consider that with the big stage being there, that it has something to do with it, because against the Eagles this year, he is not only has he not played up to his normal standard, he's looked bad at times.
Well, there's something to be said for playing the defending Super Bowl champions, right? And Philly's been kind of the measuring stick for the NFC for the last few years. But do you think it's the Eagles or just big games in general? What other? I mean, the Cowboys don't usually have big games like this, so it's when they're usually beating up on the teams that aren't very good and struggling against the good teams. So do you think this is just him pressing, him putting pressure on himself to perform? I'm the number one guy. I've got to do something, and he's just kind of in his own head. Or do you think the Eagles are in his head,
I
or
think
is Pickens in his head?
I I don't think it's Pickens, and I only say that because I think they, at least from what it looks like, and even all the way getting punished together in Vegas, I think they are genuinely happy to see each other do well. I don't think that's it. I will say it may be one of these cases where you have the first game. The first game, what happens in the first game. That first one that he drops in this game, it may just be like that, you know, triggering moment for him to just be like, oh man, here I go again. And now all of a sudden you're pressing, just like you said. Now all of a sudden you're pressing. So I would say it's probably more of that. And look, it could also just be dumb luck. He happened to have two of his worst games of the season against the same team. It's not, I mean, it's a long season. He's dealt with some injuries. So it could be as simple as none of this is relevant except for he had two bad games and it just happened to be against the same team.
Well, and let's be fair. In the game, it looked like he was reacting to the last drop, which was a touchdown. Like the ball placement was the problem, but it hit him in the gut. So after the game, he took full responsibility and full credit. I got to catch the ball. I can't make any excuses. But in the heat of the moment, it looked like, and I'll say looked like because we weren't there, we didn't hear what he was saying. He could have been on himself about it, not Dak. But even on the broadcast, they were thinking maybe he's upset about ball placement. But man, you got to catch it when it's right in your hands, when it's right in your gut. It's not like the Javante pass where he's diving for it and missed it. That's not a drop.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I think you're exactly right. I think either he had a little self-awareness, or somebody maybe just got to him and said, hey, PR being what it is, this very much looked like for. I mean, I thought the exact same thing when they first showed it. And it was a great, close up of his face after he dropped it. It looked like he was kind of telling Dak, "Hey, I need it out here." That's what it looked like. I was very happy to hear that he took the accountability. Honestly, as far as players go, he's really not been much of a diva in that respect in terms of publicly.
I disagree, and here's why.
Okay.
Him and Dak have history with this. When the frustrations are mounting in Dallas and Dak was awful with his accuracy, CD was more demonstrative about, God, you could tell he was frustrated. And him and Dak, I just want to say that I'm a CD guy. I'm wearing his jersey. I'm a CD guy. I like him. But it seems like their chemistry has been up and down throughout CD's time here. And we'll get into Pickens CD again. But I will say he has been a little bit more demonstrative and a little bit more of a diva in previous years. But last year, Dak was hurt. A couple years ago, Dak was hurt. So it's been sort of a is Dak going to be here type thing. And I think there has been some issues in history between Dak and CeeDee where they don't look like they're on the same page.
I think from a look standpoint, I don't necessarily disagree. Where I'm going to push back is just there have been so many examples of receivers in the media. They look demonstrative on the field, and then you put a microphone in their face, and they validate everything you thought. They're going to
Well,
throw
that's just not smart.
but it happens all the time, especially with the receiver. I mean, look at what's going on with AJ Brown and AJ when they've put a microphone in his face, he's done nothing to help Jalen Hurts at times. All the things he says is just validating, at least to some degree, the fact that he's very unhappy. And you can go on and on, especially just in the Cowboys history too, with Dez and with T.O. and some others. So the fact that in the media, CeeDee isn't doing that, at least that I can remember. I don't think he ever has. I don't disagree that he's looked demonstrative, and certainly he's been frustrated during game. But when he's had the opportunity with the microphone in his face to double down on that, he's never done that. And again, not to say that that's not what's happening, but it could be way worse than it is now. It's a little bit easier to fall on your sword after you win versus if that game goes the other way.
Well, A.J. Brown's team's winning. They won a Super Bowl and he's still complaining. So I get what you're saying. To me, though, maybe he's just CeeDee's a smarter diva.
That's we need to put that on a T-shirt. So I'm a smarter diva.
I mean, most wide receivers are divas, and we understand that. The point I'm trying to make is there has been chemistry questions and chemistry concerns with Dak and CeeDee in previous years. Now, you mentioned where you were wrong earlier about Quentin Williams. I took a little bit of heat last week when we went into this. Right now, you got to take one. Who are you taking, Pickens or CeeDee? And you took Pickens, and I took CeeDee Lamb, and the arguments were fair on both sides. You got more support for Pickens than I did. I got a little hammered on this argument, and so let's talk about this for a second, because to me, I don't think in my mind there's any way you can say overall that George Pickens is a better player.
Now I just want to clarify this. You're saying overall right now, who is having the better season?
No, let's talk about this. There's no question Pickens is having the better season. The question is, why is he having a better season? Okay. Secondly, if you just take the last 3 years of their career and include this one for the 4th year, I don't think you can say that Pickens is a better player. I think you can say he is improving. But here's 2 things that worry me about the Pickens discussion. It's a contract year. This kind of production from Pickens has not happened before, previously at all. Regardless of who he played with, he hasn't had this kind of production. And he has been a diva, and they ran him out of Pittsburgh for that. So that's caution number 1, that it's a contract year. Caution number 2 is that he has been a diva, and you're not sure what you can get. Now, we just talked about CeeDee Lamb being somewhat of a diva, but not making the media mistakes that some of these other guys do.
Yeah, so I think you're talking about sins of the past following you into the future, which could be the case. I'm going to look at it as Pickens has a much different, it's a player's coach versus the militant coach. Mike Tomlin has ran a lot of receivers out of Pittsburgh. There's a lot of guys in Pittsburgh that have had very similar career trajectories, Antonio Brown being the outlier in terms of having prolonged success.
Brown was oh, come on. Brown is way off the mountain. He's on the Mount Rushmore of head cases.
Right, but at the end, because he played he had like 5 or 6 seasons where he was, I don't even know if you can argue it, he was a top 3 receiver certainly, and maybe even the best receiver in football.
Agree.
Chase Claypool, Deontay Johnson, George Pickens, none of them had that kind of success, but they all had very similar trajectories where that teams thought they were extremely talented and very, very good, yet they couldn't get it done in Pittsburgh. And with the exception of Pickens, when the other guys moved on, they still didn't really have much success. So it was a little bit of fool's gold looking at it. So having said that, I'm going to choose to think that Pickens has found a better situation with a better quarterback and a better coaching staff for his style. I'm not saying that Schottenheimer is better than Mike Tomlin or anything like that. I'm just saying for what George Pickens needs, he may be getting more out of this staff. And going forward, looking at this season, George Pickens is, if not the most dynamic, he's top 3 with the ball in his hands. And that is a wrinkle that so far this year has just absolutely eluded CeeDee. CeeDee is catching it and essentially going down. I'm exaggerating a little bit, but that's basically what's happened. Pickens catches the ball and he's going to hit his head on the goalpost half the time.
So we did the tail of the tape last week on last week's podcast between these two. We talked about Pickens having better hands, and it plays into this dropped conversation with CeeDee. On his career, CeeDee drops 5% of his passes. Well, Pickens has traditionally dropped about 4% of his passes for his career. This year, though, it's glaring. It's 2.2% drops for Pickens, and a little 6 point something% for CeeDee Lamb. So CeeDee Lamb has had a case of the drop. So hands, yes, go to Pickens. Route running, we went to CeeDee Lamb.
100%.
Yak, angry running goes to Pickens.
And that's kind of where it's a bigger gap there. And maybe I don't want to devalue the contract conversation, like it being a contract year, because the dude's playing to get paid. I hope he's playing to help the team win, and I'm sure that he is. But if anyone says, "Oh, 0%, he's not playing this hard because of his contract," you're just silly.
He just woke up and became a beast.
Because the dude is running like he is trying to get himself paid, and quite frankly, he has. At this point now, it's going to take a colossal failure for him not to end up being one of the top 10 paid receivers in the league.
So just hear me out, because you didn't want to pay Pickens, and I want to pay Pickens. So I think I would take CeeDee over Pickens, but I want to pay Pickens because the duo is unbelievable. You pick Pickens over CeeDee, but don't want to pay him.
Yeah, I think it's a little more complicated than that, but I just don't see how you can have like 50%. And I know they'll get tricky with the salaries and blah, 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 but I don't see how you can pay like 50% of your salary to like 5 guys or 6 guys. Like that just doesn't, historically speaking, that doesn't mean Super Bowls. That doesn't mean you get to compete for championships. That's my concern with paying Pickens. Having Pickens and Lamb clearly is amazing. They are, come at me in the comments. I don't want, there's not another 1-2 duo in the league at receiver that I want. I want Lamb and Pickens against every other duo in the league.
Right.
But you don't have a running back next year. Javonte Williams on a 1-year deal. Can they go find someone? Sure. It didn't work out for him last year. It worked out pretty well this year. So
no, it worked out last year. Rico Dowdle was awesome. And Rico Dowdle had a great year, and then they said, we're not going to pay you, Rico. Then they brought Javonte in. He's had an excellent year. So you have to kind of trust them that they can find that. But where else would Javonte want to be? You know?
Depends on how much money they're trying to give him.
Well, that is what I want to talk about with George Pickens. Because here, like I said before, it's a contract year. And I will say, don't you think, when you've been traded from one team says, we're done with you, and we're trading you to the Dallas Cowboys for a 3rd-round pick, don't you is that sort of a look in the mirror time? It's like, this may be my only shot to get that bankroll that I need. So I got to go out here and be the good citizen and ball so I can make that money. How much is George Pickens making this year? Do you know? I don't know off the top of my head.
No, but
how much he's making.
I can find out very quickly.
Because he knows this is make or break for him, and he's in the prime of his career right now. So he has to come here. He has to be a model citizen. And he's so fortunate to have CeeDee Lamb on the other side because his double team rate goes down and he's singled up more in coverage. And so I think the motivation is not just money, but this could be my last shot at money.
$3.5 million.
So you know, if I can just mind my manners for 1 year, possibly 2, because they could franchise tag him, which I think is what they're going to do, and then have the whole agent situation because he's got Micah's agent will happen. But now I'm going to go from 3.5 million to 35, maybe north of that million a year. And to do that, I got to be a model citizen for 1 year, maybe 2 years. Would you do that, Nick?
God, it's such a great question. I don't. On the surface, yes. The answer is yes. I will be a model citizen. I will, yes.
And then what happens when you get your money? Then you revert back to who you really are.
And that's why I say it's such a complicated question, because everything is great in theory. Theoretically, sure, give me 25 million a year and I'll do whatever you want me to do. But
Whoa.
what? But I'm gonna stand on that. But what you but what you but what you miss in that is
everything legal, you meant.
Right, that's 100%. But what you said is exactly right. You're going to I can be anything for 6 months. I can be anything for 9 months. I can be anything for 18 weeks. Once I lose the motivation, once I lose the thing that's driving me to be that thing, the honeymoon's over. I'm going to gain the 30 pounds. I'm going to stop going to the gym.
Hello, AD.
But man, poor AD. He's catching strays over here. Yeah, he's going to revert back. And I think that's the concern. I'm sorry. He has the potential to revert back, and that's the concern. But like I said, if he stays in Dallas, if they franchise tag him, which I think you're right. I think that's probably the thing that makes the most sense. Can the coaching staff and can Dak continue to get out of him what they've done so far?
Well, for the record, I love Pickens. I love CeeDee. You forced me to pick one. I'm taking CeeDee because of the consistency that's been there. He's done it longer, and at that level for longer. The name Alvin Harper is ringing in my ears, and I know that older Cowboy fans understand what Michael Irvin did for Alvin Harper, and I think Pickens is benefiting from some of that here with CeeDee. But right now, you can make a case that Pickens is better in this season. The chemistry with Dak seems to be better. I don't know if they're working extra where Dak and CeeDee are a little bit out of sync, but this year, when you look at deep into the numbers, the real thing is yards after catch and touchdowns. If you take out everything else, they're both catching about 6 balls for 95 yards a game on average because CeeDee's played, almost 4 less games than Pickens. But the eye test, you mentioned this earlier when we were really going at it about this. The eye test the wow factor's there for Pickens. It's not there for CeeDee. I don't get fooled by the wow factor. I'm looking for consistency. That's my concern for Pickens is once he gets paid, what do we get?
Yeah, and I think this goes back to the conversation that we were just talking about of me not wanting to pay Pickens. For the record, it's not that I don't want to pay George Pickens. It's that I don't want to tie up that much money on the wide receiver room. You mentioned Alvin Harper and the historical context of Alvin Harper. For anyone listening that might be a little bit too much of a throwback, we're going a little bit too far on the Wayback Machine. We can look at the Cincinnati Bengals. The Cincinnati Bengals this year have $24 million cap hit for T. Higgins and a $23.5 million cap hit for Jamar Chase. So they have tied up almost $50 million in the wide receiver room, which is essentially what you would be doing in Dallas with George Pickens and CeeDee Lamb.
How's that scale?
On a bit, right. How's that working out for Cincy? And before anyone says Joe Burrow's been hurt all year, Joe Burrow had statistically one of the great all-time seasons last year because of how incredibly dynamic that offense is. Because you have T. Higgins, because you have Jamar Chase. That offense was absolutely unbelievable. They make the playoffs?
No.
Did they win anything significantly? Were they even in contention in the last month of the season?
No.
So
now you hate Joe Burrow, you hate Joe Flacco. Do you just have a problem with guys named Joe?
No, because I actually think Joe Burrow's amazing. But what I'm saying is you set that team up for Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, and whoever they got playing running back to have to carry on a week in and week out basis.
Yeah, well, this is a great distraction technique from you.
Is it?
Yeah, because you don't want to pay Pickens. You don't want to pay Quinnen Williams and Kenny Clark and Osa Odighizuwa You don't want to pay anybody. It sounds to me like you think we can just, where are we going to find players? I mean, we've already been down the history of this teams drafting on defense and the ability to find players. They can't do that. So let's lock up these phenomenal players on offense so that defense doesn't have to only be but top 20. That's the strategy. But now they pivoted from that strategy. They said, okay, Micah, I can't pay you $47 million, so I'm going to go get Quinnen Williams, Kenny Clark, and a first-round pick for you. And I think that I'm going to get the pressure because these guys are occupying all of the attention, and you don't want to pay them. You don't think they're going to keep Quinnen or Kenny long term. Well, Quinnen's here for a couple years, but Osa and Kenny, you're going to have to make a decision, and maybe not. Maybe they can keep them all. But who are you going to? If you don't want to pay Pickens and you don't want to pay Kenny Clark and Osa and Quinnen, who are you going to give the money to?
Before I even answer that question, and I hate to say this, I really do, because I'm about to be on record here. How do the Eagles do it? What you just said don't pay. You basically said who you pay. The Eagles don't pay anybody.
Oh, that's not true. You better look. You better look again.
The
because
biggest
they
cap
kick
hit.
it down the road. We've already been over this. We're not talking about kicking the can down the road. They're kicking barrels down the road. Donkey Kong. Remember the conversation?
That's fine, but they do it way better than we do it.
Doesn't matter. They also pay guys on offense and defense. They've got AJ Brown and Devontae Smith paid.
Except AJ Brown's only a 17.5 cap hit, and Devontae's only a 7.5 cap hit
this year.
Look
at next year.
But it's not going to be that because, as we said,
they'll kick it down the road.
They'll be so. But you can't do that forever. And there's also,
who says you can't?
Well, because Cincinnati didn't figure it out. They haven't figured out how to do it correctly because they got $50 million in wide receiver room.
I'm just telling you, Cincinnati doesn't. Their GM's not as smart as Howie.
And that's my point. You can't deficiency of efficiency by way of what you're able to do through competency has to matter at some point.
So who are you going to pay, Nick?
I want to pay a lot of players on defense instead of one or two guys on offense. Would you rather have 24 million AJ Brown and Devontae Smith or 50 million T Higgins and Jamar Chase?
I don't need to have those because I have CD and George Pickens for 50 million. Probably when all this is said and done.
100%.
But now I didn't pay Micah 47 so I could pay Bland, Osa, Quinnen Williams, and Kenny Clark, right? So you kind of have done that. So Quinnen Williams' cap hit compared to Micah's is a little bit different. Now they're going to spread out Micah and restructure and do all that stuff, and we will do that here. The key deal is Dak's contract.
Mm-hmm.
What is he willing to do to make the team around him better? We've always talked about Tom Brady taking these discounts because he knows I need to spread this money around the team so we can win championships, right?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe Dak sees the light and says, hey, let's restructure this and kick it down the line. Maybe we can get one of those Shohei deals with Dak. We're just paying, or Bobby Bonilla Dak. I'm just telling you, we're going to have to pay somebody. Why not pay CD? We already did. Pay Dak, pay Pickens, then pay the defensive linemen, which have been tough to find around here. You agree?
Yeah, I agree.
And then fill in everybody else with draft picks.
Because it feels like Dallas isn't capable of executing that.
I know, but you have to do it. You have to get better. You have to realize that. And the worst part of their draft has been defensive linemen. They've hit on a DB here and there, Diggs, Bland, right? Safeties, they haven't really even focused on drafting safeties that at a high level. Offensive linemen they've hit on, right? Linebackers they haven't. So that's the chore. Can I find a linebacker or two in the draft? Can I find a safety in the draft? And then offensive line. I don't have to pay any more offensive linemen. Just keep drafting like we have been.
Yeah, so I've got 10 years of data that says I'm not going to do that well. Instead of paying George Pickens, just go get established linebackers in free agency. This is a team that doesn't want to spend in free agency. This is a team that
they haven't.
They haven't, right? Historically speaking.
They haven't traded much either until recently.
That's right. So rather than trying to develop players, which offensively and at times they've done okay in some spots, but historically speaking, you nailed it. They're not going to find linebackers and they're not going to find defensive linemen in the draft. So rather than you ask the question, where are you going to spend the money? Don't spend it on George Pickens and go find some established linebackers on these 1-year deals. You just kind of corrected a point that I was making about Rico Dowdle last year, Javonte Williams this year, now George Pickens. These 1-year deals seem to be at least helping you bridge the gap. So bridge the gap with some linebackers, bridge the gap with the DB. The Stephon Gilmore thing worked out really well for them for a season. There have been other examples where
Right.
taking these 1-year deals on established free agents that you might be able to get on a little bit of a decline, and wanting to come to Dallas, no state tax, and just the notoriety that comes from being a Cowboy and what that means for your career after the fact. I would say spend the money on established veteran free agents as opposed to pay everybody and try to get lucky in the draft.
I didn't say pay everybody. That's only like 6, 7 players that I'm talking about.
Pay everybody within the context of the conversation.
Okay, so 6, 7, same thing, right?
Every week?
Every week, man. I'm old, so it just reached our level. When you're old, you got to be hip when you can, right? So here's what I'm going to, and we'll table this. You think Pickens is better than Lamb,
Yes.
so why wouldn't you then just trade CeeDee and sign Pickens?
Well, first of all, I think CeeDee's contract is probably very, very difficult to trade. I think that's the first part of it. The second part of it is George Pickens. The offense will, and I already know where you're going to go with this, so I'm trying to find the right way of saying it to not get the reaction that I'm going to get, but I
It's
don't
like
know.
chess, baby. I'm 2
Yeah,
moves ahead.
I know, and I'm trying to get 3 moves ahead of you. George Pickens is considerably better with CeeDee Lamb. George Pickens
Oh,
may need CeeDee Lamb on the field
hmm,
in order to be better than CeeDee Lamb.
hmm,
That doesn't take
hmm.
away from the fact that he is still, in fact, better than CeeDee Lamb.
So you would not pay CeeDee, which means you're going to let him walk. You can't franchise tag him because that's basically paying him. So you're now saying the Cowboys should let Pickens walk away for free instead of paying him. And if they pay him, then that contract is going to be probably the same or more than CeeDee Lamb. So now the contracts you can talk about trading one or the other are going to be very similar, and maybe CeeDee becomes a little bit more trade worthy because his deal is shorter now. So if I'm listening to Nick's school of GM, I don't like letting Pickens go for nothing. It's not like you have a choice. You can't trade him now. I mean, I guess you could franchise him and then try to trade him and work out a sign and trade or something. But uh, I don't. I think they're going to have to sign him at least for next year.
Yeah, and remember
Franchise tag.
the initial conversation around this was if you know you're not going to pay him.
That was the initial. What's now?
Right now, you're right. Now you can't trade him. You can franchise him, maybe tender him for a couple first, whatever the case may be. You can still trade him. You still have the ability to not lose him for nothing. I think the problem is you've put yourself into a position where this kind of looks like the blueprint on how you can win. I don't think you're going to go find George Pickens on the free agent market. You're not going to go find someone that can be as dynamic. And again, CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens seem to be in concert with one another as well as with the scheme. So, yes, if you're asking me the hypothetical, would you pay him? No, I don't like paying him. What's going to happen? They are absolutely going to pay him. They're going to franchise tag him at the very least while they work out a long-term deal. I would be willing to bet a large sum of money that both George Pickens and CeeDee Lamb are on this team next year and that the cap hits somewhere around $35 to $40 million.
And are you predicting doom and gloom for the rest of the team because of that? That's what I heard you say earlier.
Yeah, I'm predicting that this defense will continue to be middle to back end of the pack.
Middle of the pack's perfect. Top 20 is perfect. That's all we need. If we have that offense, that's all we need to be competitive. That's what I'm saying. And you can fill in those offensive linemen. The question mark, I will agree with you, is can we find a safety? Can we find a linebacker? Nothing to say you can't do that in free agency with smaller dollars. And they've had luck with Eric Hendricks. That guy, can't remember, is it Eric Hendricks? The guy,
linebacker, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we've had luck with some of that stuff. But we'll table this because we've got a lot of things to get to. But I think that when you talk about CeeDee and Pickens and who's better, My feeling is because CeeDee's been more consistent, I would rather, if I had to bank on one, I would pick him. Pickens has the wow factor now. I am concerned about the contract year and what is he going to do when he gets paid. When you $3.5 million, that's like peanuts to them. But 30, 35 million, it's a whole nother level of rich. And we'll just see how he reacts to that. And what you said was key, and I didn't even have to make this argument because you did, is how much is Pickens benefiting from having CeeDee over there, and that has to be factored in.
Yeah, I mean, to some degree, I agree. I think it's a much larger conversation because on the other side of the ball, you theoretically aren't going to pay $60 million to your defensive line room. Theoretically, again, I mean, you just so much money to have to figure out how to make it work.
It's not our money.
That's true. If you look at Pickens, Kenny Clark, if you look at Pickens and Kenny Clark, if you look at those two guys, because those are the two that you can get away from, and theoretically are going to cost you somewhere between 20 and 25 million next year, you don't. Let me ask you this: if you can't keep both of them, which one do you want, Kenny or
I'm keeping Pickens?
I'm going to get rid of Kenny.
Yeah, because I have Osa under contract as well. So we'll have 2 and 2. So I would get rid of Kenny Clark and I keep Pickens because I don't want to. I want to try to find a way to keep them all. But I'm like the Cowboy fan out there that's saying, pay them all, pay them all. But the truth is, I think you can keep them. You just have to be very, very good at drafting and very, very good at finding free agents on the cheap to like the Stephon Gilmore types, like the Kendricks type. And I don't know if I'm saying his name right, but the truth is, that's what I would do if I have to get rid of. You're forcing me, Kenny Clark or Pickens. I'm keeping Pickens for sure because that's what makes this offense dynamic. Can Quinnen Williams and Osa and Solomon Thomas and those guys make the defense dynamic? They can. I'd prefer to have both, but if you make me choose, I keep Pickens.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see how this plays out. I think as we look ahead to now what this defense is, what the offense is, you gotta what I'm going to guess is the most watched regular season game in the history of the NFL coming up on Thursday against Kansas City.
Well, not yet. Let's not go there yet.
Okay.
We'll get to the preview in a second. There's one other thing that happened in this game of note that we got to talk about.
All right.
Dak passes Romo on the all-time yards list for the Cowboys and now has the franchise record for passing yards for the franchise. Now, that a lot of people say Dak and Romo, same guy, just different years. What say you? Who is better, Nick? Is it Dakota Rain Prescott, or I don't know Tony Romo's?
It's Anthony.
And I know, but I don't know his middle name, so
gotcha.
I can't do that. But is it Tony Romo or Dak Prescott? Who you got?
Tony Romo, and easily to me.
Tell me why.
Tony Romo did essentially the same. The eye test tells you they're basically the same. I can give you the stats, and I will, but it's basically the same. I don't even think it's arguable. I'll say arguably, Tony Romo did it with far less. If they have basically the same careers to date,
Dak should have done more with the talent he's had.
100%. They have done the same amount of winning, both in the regular season and the playoffs. And Dak has done it with considerably better talent around him.
Is that true? I thought Dak had more wins.
So Dak is 80, 51 and 1, 61% in 20 fewer games. So he's played 134 games to Romo's 156. 80, 50 and 1 for Dak, 78 and 48 for Romo. Both of them 61% win percentage.
Okay.
So essentially the exact same win percentage in the regular season. Dak is 2-5 in the playoffs. Romo was 2-4 in the playoffs. Dak has thrown 14 fewer touchdowns, but also 30 fewer interceptions.
Romo was a gambler. He
100%.
He doesn't have to. Guys don't have to be wide open. Early on, Dak wouldn't throw a ball if there was somebody really close to his receivers. He would not take that risk.
Yeah, exactly right. He also has 1,400 more rush yards, and now has 200 more pass yards. So statistically, just statistically, Dak Prescott has a better statistical career going than Tony Romo does to date. Now, again, he's 20 games behind, so he's really got like another 3 seasons to, or I guess 1 season to play to catch that number of just games played. But if he's already ahead statistically, that's not going to change. Maybe the win percentage gets slightly better, maybe it gets slightly worse. Over that many games, it's not going to change dramatically, we
Mhm.
hope. So if you essentially say in the same number of 150 games, Dak is pretty comfortably ahead statistically, but again,
He should be.
with far better talent, and I would even argue a consistently better coaching than what Romo had.
Yeah, I was disappointed. I hope you was going to take Dak because I'm a Romo fan. I'm a little bit biased when it comes to this. I've been a little less of a Dak fan. I respect Dak for what he's had to persevere, but Romo Romo's contracts, when you talk about percentages of the cap, were probably a lot less. Romo's an undrafted free agent. Dak's a fourth round pick, so not a lot of difference there. They come from a similar place, but the whole comparison, and Dak took over for Romo. They've basically been the same. But for me, I'll take Romo's football IQ over Dak's. I think maybe you talk about accuracy. I think Romo. Um, as far as cannons go, I would still take Romo's arm over Dak with the accuracy. But they can both chunk it. I mean, that's no deal. No difference. But to me, it comes down to what you said. Dak should have accomplished more with what he's been given. Um, and the Cowboys, you got to remember, early Romo, he was running for his life. And he did play with some great offensive lines, but Dak seems to have always had a really good offensive line. And maybe 1 or 2 years they didn't, but it's probably half and half with Romo. Maybe I'm exaggerating because I have a Romo bias, but I think that I would take Romo as well, just because I think Dak has, it's hard to say underachieved for a fourth round draft pick, but I feel like he has underachieved.
Yeah, I think he has. But I will say this though, and I'm trying not to have like a recency bias here or just even a revisionist history. I don't know that as much as hope as I had for the Cowboys to win in playoff games or to actually make it to a conference championship or a Super Bowl, I don't know if I ever really believed that Romo would get me there. Now, again, that's because of the late game stuff and he's being put in position to have to throw. He's got the gunslinger mentality, and I'm trying really hard not to have the revisions, but I really feel like I always expected Romo to let me down, whereas I think Dak can get over the hump.
Did it start with the field goal in Seattle? You just felt like he was big play doomed. Did it start there?
Yes, but it always just felt like something was gonna go wrong.
Yeah, something did go wrong. It was the caliber of defense we had, and Romo put this team on his back. There were 2 times we had the number one seed, I believe, under Romo. How, how many times under Dak? Once did we have the number one seed, maybe?
Yeah, that first year.
And so the frustrating thing is something always. We've talked early on in the podcast about lovable losers that I seem to follow in my childhood with Daryl Strawberry and Patrick Ewing and guys that, you know, Daryl won the championship, but Patrick didn't, right? And you had these guys that something would always, Michael Jordan would cause Patrick Ewing not to win it, and then Akeem Olajuwon. But the point I'm trying to make is something always would go wrong, and it necessarily wouldn't be Romo's fault, but he felt like he had to really press to do something. When the Giants beat us, when we were the number one seed, that was heartbreaking. And the Dez caught it game, and he did catch it. Um, was to no fault of Romo. Romo threw a beautiful ball.
Yeah. Yeah. I almost expected you to get the shades on and go to the "that's my quarterback."
Yeah,
I
it's my quarterback.
thought you were gonna go TO on me for a second.
Yeah.
Um, I agree.
So wait, are you taking Dak now?
No, I'm not. All I'm saying is that at the end of their careers, by the time this is all said and done, I think one clearly Dak statistically is probably going to far surpass Romo because it looks like Dak has at least 2 or 3 good years left in him. So statistically, this gap is going to widen a lot.
Of course.
But I also think If everything we're talking about comes to fruition, at least to some degree, and you've got a middle of the road defense and a top 5 offense, I can see Dak Prescott getting them to an NFC Championship game. I
Okay.
can I
Would
can
that change your opinion?
100%.
Okay, so if Dak gets to the NFC Championship game, doesn't win it, just
Right.
gets
Just
there,
gets there.
then you put him ahead of Romo.
100%, no questions asked, won't even have to think about it again.
Okay.
When he at that position, and this is the same Duncan Dirk, this is just all these conversations, it's not that championships matter more than anything else. It's so hard to say that, especially in a team sport. But when you get to that level, when you're talking about the elites, when you're talking about two of the four greatest quarterbacks in Cowboys history, you have to start comping it somewhere. Statistically, different eras. Troy Aikman has far less yards than both of them, and I don't think either of us are taking either one of them over Troy.
No, I don't think so. But the question would be Troy or Roger.
So it's hard for me to say Roger because I didn't watch him play. Now I've watched all of the documentaries and highlights that I could possibly watch. I feel like I'm educated on the Staubach led Cowboys. However, I never watched them
You're
live.
emotionally tied to Troy Aikman.
100%. And it would be impossible for me to that was literally what I grew up on, watching the Cowboys win Super Bowls with the triplets. There's no way I could give you Troy over Roger. Oh, I'm sorry, Roger over Troy.
So I think that when we talk about this, it is important to note that because there's a lot of people that hated Romo when he played, and he's such a lightning rod. But as time has went on, we've appreciated him more. Will that be the same thing for Dak?
Um, Maybe, but I do feel like there's more people, yourself being one of them, that have kind of come around to this maturation process of Dak, not by way of leadership, because I think from day one, everyone has always raved about what kind of leader he is and what kind of man he is. But I think from a player, just purely on the field, you've watched Dak continue to develop and continue to grow. There had always been these, I mean, forever. Is he even a top 60? Is he even a top half of the league quarterback? Was an argument forever. I mean, I can remember it as soon as 2 years ago. I don't think anybody anywhere is arguing that he's not a top 10, probably top 5 quarterback now. And it looks like that's probably, again, not going to change for a little while. So I think we
But they're
made
still 5-5-1.
right, but everyone's going to look at the defense in that. And that is the grace that Tony Romo wasn't given at the time, that later people seem to go back and say, well, he was trying to do it all himself. Whereas in the moment, people seem to be giving Dak that caveat of, well, the defense is just so bad.
Well, in the end, I mean, Roger and Troy are royalty. And then you have Danny White, Tony Romo, Dak, pretty much the same type of guy. And I thought we were going to get into it more because I thought you were going to take Dak. Although you were taking Romo, you seem to have been giving more Dak stats and kind of arming yourself like Dak is better. And statistically, he is better. But I agree with you. If he doesn't win anything, it doesn't really matter because it's the same thing as Danny White and Tony Romo. It's good enough. Danny White got him to NFC Championship games. He couldn't win it. But so would you put Danny White ahead of Tony Romo and Dak Prescott?
I wouldn't, only because although, yes, he got them there, statistically, he's so far behind. And
Yeah.
dynamically, he's seemingly, eye test, and I don't even know Danny White's numbers like that, but
Should check him out.
I probably will. But what I know from the eye test is he was not. You think about the Dallas Cowboys quarterback, Danny White, no matter what, he could have.
He replaced Roger.
Yeah, I mean, and it's the unfortunate. It's following the main event. It's following the guy that's supposed to go on last, and then you got to follow him. There's nothing you're gonna do that's gonna. You're just the bridge, unfortunately, and a very very capable one. It's not Montana and then Steve Young. I don't know why I just blanked there. It's not that situation where they both had so much success, right? Had Danny won a championship or even
Steve Young maybe overrated.
a little bit, maybe, but ton of talent. Hard to say. Who knows?
System quarterback.
Right, system quarterback. But yeah, I wouldn't ever even remotely think about putting Danny White ahead of Romo or Dak, just because statistically it's so much further, and because they seemingly had so much more dynamic impact on the game.
But he did get to 4 NFC Championship games, and you said if Dak gets there, you're going to put Dak over Romo. So that's kind of a little contradictory because Danny's teams were better in the early 80s. They got hit by the juggernaut known as Joe Montana, right? In that first one, but interesting debate. I think that I'll take Romo over Dak just because I'm emotionally tied to Romo and really wanted him to win. I've come around on Dak. Like you said, it's a little bit of a maturity process, but we've seen signs and flashes of old Dak this year, and then we've seen signs like last night or yesterday afternoon where he leads them back and it was led by the defense getting 8 stops in a row or eight possessions in a row, but I got a lot of respect for Dak more than I did a few years ago, for sure. So you mentioned the Thanksgiving game, and interesting. I want to talk about the Thanksgiving game because I did a little research here on Thanksgiving games, and we got a little fun facts, right? And Thanksgiving by the numbers, I'd like to go through with you.
All right, let's do it.
All right. There's been one team to never play on Thanksgiving.
Never play or never win?
Never played on Thanksgiving.
I know you've already told me this, but I've completely blanked, so I don't remember.
It won't take you long. It's one of the newer teams.
So it's got to be the Jacksonville or Houston.
It's Jacksonville, right?
Okay.
One team's never played on Thanksgiving. NFL, get them a night game on Thanksgiving. So that's one, right? 4 winless teams on Thanksgiving. Obviously, Jacksonville's one.
Yeah.
The other 3 are Cleveland, Cincinnati, and Tampa Bay. Never won on Thanksgiving.
Tampa's surprising. You would thought they would have played Detroit a few times.
That's 4 teams. 6 most passing touchdowns in a single Thanksgiving game was 6. That's by Bob Greasy and Peyton Manning in 2004.
I thought you were going to say Stafford.
6 touchdowns.
Wow.
Now, Stafford comes in later, but Thanksgiving Day shutout since the merger in 70. There's not been a shutout since the Cowboys shut out the Dolphins in 99. There have been 6 shutouts on Thanksgiving, and the last one 26 years ago.
Wow. We're kind of due for one, aren't we?
Well, it's an offensive-minded league, so.
Yeah, that's fair.
Most career sacks on Thanksgiving held by former Lions Ezekiel Ansah.
Funny story
8.5, by the way.
Yeah, funny story about Ezekiel Ansah. Whenever he was playing on we'd play Madden with my friends, and we would do fantasy drafts. You could get Ezekiel Ansah in like the 35th round of a fantasy draft back then, and like his measurables or like the intangibles, I mean, made him to where he would get like 12 sacks a game or something in the video game.
That's crazy.
So it's kind of cool to hear his name out there.
Lawrence Taylor of Tech Mobile.
100%.
Yeah. But he has 8.5 career sacks on Thanksgiving. Most career Thanksgiving receiving touchdowns is 11. Who do you think has that?
Got to be Irvin.
It's not Michael Irvin.
Really?
Who do you say, Maestro?
Career
receiving touchdowns on Thanksgiving, 11 total.
Oh, no. Was it Randy?
Nope.
Megatron.
But he had a very memorable Thanksgiving Day against the Cowboys we'll get to. It's Megatron.
Yeah.
Calvin Johnson, 11 touchdowns on Thanksgiving Day. Most career touchdown passes on Thanksgiving is held by 2 people. The number's 18. 18 touchdowns on Thanksgiving Day games.
Stafford's got to be one.
Matthew Stafford is 1.
Touchdown passes on Thanksgiving Day. Aaron Rodgers?
We just talked about him in the last segment. It's Mr. Romo.
Okay.
Tony Romo and Matt Stafford, 18 touchdowns. Okay. Most career receiving yards on Thanksgiving. 895 yards on Thanksgiving is held by 1 person. Not Miles Austin, but that's a good random guess.
Irvin or Megatron?
Not Irvin, not Megatron.
Really?
Oh, reliable for Tony Romo was
Des Bryant.
not Des Bryant.
T.O.?
Tight end.
Oh, Jason Witten.
Jason Witten. Boy, you guys went down the trail there before we got to Witten.
Wow.
We forgot about Witten. 895 yards, career receiving yards on Thanksgiving by tight end Jason Witten.
Good for Jason Witten. That's awesome.
Most career rushing yards on Thanksgiving. There's 2 people. No, 1 person.
Got to be Emmett.
He also holds the rushing touchdowns on Thanksgiving with 13. The most yards is 1,178 yards on Thanksgiving and 13 touchdowns.
And it's not Emmett or Barry?
It's Emmitt Smith.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
it's got to be Emmett.
Emmitt Smith. See? All right. Most career passing yards is 3,000 on Thanksgiving.
Stafford.
It's Matt Stafford.
Yeah.
10 starts, by the way.
So
So 300 yards a game.
yards a game on Thanksgiving.
Perfectly, yeah. So Matt Stafford playing with the Detroit Lions for all those years on Thanksgiving, 3,000 yards. All right, now let's look at some of the best Thanksgiving Day moments, right? And obviously they're going to include a lot of Cowboys here because they play on Thanksgiving. 1974, Clint Longley took over for Roger, and they were down 16-3 to the Redskins, and Longley rallied Dallas to a win 24-23. It was a 50-yard touchdown pass to Drew Pearson with 28 seconds left.
I know the name Drew Pearson.
Come on, man. I was 1 year old when this happened, so I don't remember this, but I remember seeing highlights of it back in the day. Maybe you'll remember this one, sir. 1993, the Leon Lett game.
Oh, I definitely remember this one.
He tried to recover the blocked game-winning field goal attempt. The ball was booted forward by Lett and recovered by the Dolphins at the 2-yard line. I'm laughing because you can hear the commentators, "Oh, Leon, no!" It's in the snow in Dallas.
What is Leon thinking?
Yeah, and so he boots the ball. They get it, and they get a second attempt at it with 2 seconds left, or at the 2-yard line, and they kick the game-winning field goal and win 16-14. That wasn't a barn burner.
Yeah.
All right, 1997. Barry Sanders and the Lions defeat the Bears 55-20, with Sanders rushing for 167 yards and 3 touchdowns.
Yeah, I remember I remember watching that game live, and that run, he has a run, and there's like a 45-yard touchdown or something like that. He's just bouncing off of everybody. I mean, that's a core memory moment of watching football and just seeing a guy do something that shouldn't be possible. I think at that time, because Emmett wasn't, although he was very hard to tackle.
The wow factor.
Yeah, exactly. It's the wow factor, man. And God,
so
what
was Barry better or Emmett?
God, we should probably shouldn't go down that road.
We'll move on.
Yeah.
Okay, this one, 1998, you mentioned it earlier, is Randy Moss. Wanted to be a Cowboy so bad. The Cowboys decided in the draft to pick Greg Ellis, and Moss dropped to like 21.
After telling Moss they were going to take him.
Yeah. Well,
according to Moss.
Jerry wasn't much of a risk taker back then, I guess. I don't know. He's decided on good old reliable. Well, it's coming off Michael Irvin and all that trouble. So they had to clean up their act a little bit. So they said no to Randy Moss. They drafted Greg Ellis. And Moss's rookie year, Thanksgiving Day, he only had 3 catches, guys.
Yeah, I think all 3 of them were for touchdowns. Is that right?
All 3 of them were 50 yards plus touchdowns in a 46-36 win over the Cowboys. He had 3 catches, 163 yards, and 3 touchdowns.
That may have been the birth of getting mossed.
Yeah, it definitely was. We got mossed for sure. The Cowboys did. 2004, Colts whooped the Lions 41-9, and Peyton Manning threw for 6 touchdown passes and tied for the most with Bob Greasy, as we mentioned earlier. So that's a memorable moment that wasn't Cowboy related.
What year was that?
2004.
So that would have been the Reggie Wayne, Marvin Harrison, Dallas Clark.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. It's great offense.
All right. And then the last little nugget on Thanksgiving. I didn't know this happened on Thanksgiving. It was the Jets and the Patriots. This might be the first year that they had that night game, and they added the third game.
Teams, yeah.
I don't know if this was the first year, but it's the infamous butt fumble.
Oh, Mark Sanchez.
Mark Sanchez fumbled the ball after running into his teammate's backside, and the New York 49-19 loss to the Patriots.
That was on Thanksgiving?
Thanksgiving Day, butt fumble.
I obviously infamous play, but I had no idea that was on Thanksgiving. It was so big, it even overrode the fact that it was on Thanksgiving.
And yeah, that's right. The butt fumble, you never knew it was on Turkey Day. So there's some interesting notes about Thanksgiving Day games as we prepare for the Thanksgiving Day game here against the Chiefs. The Chiefs are coming to town. Now, the Chiefs had their own comeback win this week, and they were pretty much left for dead in the fourth quarter. And then Indiana Jones turned into Danny Dimes, and they said, "Danny Dimes, you can't beat us." And he dared them to, and they couldn't get it done, right? And I feel bad for the Colts, but because now everybody's saying, are they real or not, right? And they kind of were saying a little bit before, but now the Chiefs coming off an exhilarating win, the Cowboys coming off an exhilarating win. Who's going to carry momentum?
I think Dallas is more likely to carry momentum only because we're at home. I think that's probably the difference maker for me. For the record, just before we jump into it too much, the Colts losing the game that way, the way that they did, doesn't make them any less of a contender to me. I think they're for real, but it's still a heartbreaking loss. I think Dallas carries the momentum into Thanksgiving, and more than that, I think they have stuff to build off of in terms of their defense. Now has gone 2.5 quarters without giving up a touchdown. It's looked considerably better since the trade deadline.
Mhm.
Whereas Kansas City continues to just have to fight and claw and scratch their way in these games to get either positive results or to just barely lose these games. But at some point, you got to feel like that's going to take its toll because
Mhm.
it's almost a defensive setting versus Dallas being able to attack, especially late in that game against Philly.
Yeah, I think this will come down to what defense will get the most stops. And I think right now, I mean, it's hard to bet against the Cowboys. Now, the Chiefs have much better weapons than the Raiders, obviously, and similar weapons to the Eagles, but they maybe the Chiefs' weapons don't have so much head drama going on, right?
Yeah, and I think the other thing about that is the Chiefs' run game all year long has been suspect, to say the best, like to put it mildly. So I think if you're going to be one dimensional, which I'm saying that I don't watch them just torch the Cowboys, but
Well, before you say that, you got to be reminded of yesterday. They committed to the run for the first time all year, it seems like, and it turned out to be the reason they won the game. And so that's what makes me a little nervous. But again, the Colts have a pretty good defense. But I would take our defensive tackles. I would take the Colts linebackers over ours for sure, and defensive secondary. But but that game was in Kansas City, and so I think the Chiefs may have discovered they have to actually be multidimensional, like you're saying. They've been pass, pass, pass. Now they committed to the run yesterday. Let's see if they can continue to do that.
yeah, and I think even if they commit to the run, I mean, look, you've got the Dallas pre-trade deadline giving up 145 a game, 150 a game. Post trade deadline giving up 45 a game. Even if it's somewhere in the middle, if you give up 80 to 100 against the Chiefs run game, conceivably Dallas, with the exception of the Broncos, Dallas offense has played extremely well against the top ranked defenses in the league. And of course, we know Dak Prescott at home is just a far different player than he is on the road.
Mm-hmm.
So I think if you give up 80 to 100 on the ground against the Chiefs, you're probably fine there. I think the dynamic playmaking of the speedy wideouts is what makes you like Rasheed Rice's look like amazing. And then of course Xavier Worthy can just take the top off at any given time. So that would be my bigger concern. If Dallas, I said going into the Raiders and Eagles game that I thought third down conversions would be a big factor as to how those games went. I think chunk plays against the Chiefs will be where it's at. If they can limit the Chiefs to 2 or 3 20+ yard plays, they'll be in a good spot. If they give up big plays against the Chiefs, I think it's going to be a tough ask to have that defense kind of keep up.
Well, that's the question, right? So we know that Steve Spagnuolo likes to blitz and put pressure on quarterbacks. How well we handle that will determine the outcome of this game because Eberflus doesn't like to blitz. He doesn't do it much. And when he does blitz, it doesn't seem like we get home a lot. And I don't know about you, but teams blitzing Mahomes, I don't think that works out well a lot.
No.
And so I think we have to keep Mahomes in the pocket. His legs scare me a little bit. If we're gonna play more man, then maybe he gets more rushing yards. So I think it comes down to the defense. Can we handle the pressure from Kansas City because we know they're gonna blitz? Can we keep Mahomes in the pocket? Can we get pressure with four guys? Will be interesting. And I think it really comes down to the battle in the trenches. I know that's cliche, but it really comes down to who handles pressure better because I think we're going to struggle against some of their receivers for sure in the secondary if we can't get pressure on Mahomes. Kelsey is another deal. Kelsey seems to eat us up, man. And well, most tight ends do, right? And if you have the Raiders, Brock Bowers tearing us up with no help, how much more is that going to be for Kelsey? So I think it's who handles the pressure and which quarterback can make the big plays.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. I think the only thing I would say to the Spagnuolo blitzing a lot, which he does, um, I I may regret wishing for this, but I kind of hope they do, because typically if you're doing that, that means you're leaving one-on-one. And if you're gonna let Pickens and
For
Lamb
sure.
play one-on-one on a short week at that,
It's a game of chicken.
yeah, like I'll take my chances, right? Because you're gonna give the slant and goes, you're gonna give this the just the pure slants, and then the go routes. I've said this before. If you're gonna give me 5 to 7 go routes a game with Pickens and Lamb, they're good. The 50-50 balls, they're gonna win 75% of the time. So I wouldn't hate that if I'm gonna predict that Spagnuolo actually doesn't, whatever the
He scales back.
whatever, if he's blitzing 45% of the time this season, I bet it's 35 to 40. I think it'll be timely. I think it'll
Okay.
be the third and intermediates, third and longs. I think it'll be in those it'll be situational. I don't think it's going to be, the game plan isn't going to be to go in and make the Cowboys receivers prove they can beat you one-on-one. I don't imagine that's what we'll see.
Yeah, and that's the benefit of having Pickens and CD out there is like if you're going to double team both of them, then Ferguson will be open, Javante will be open out of the backfield. Something will be free if we can just pick up and man, I think that's underrated, that blitz pickup by Javante in the game against the Eagles, where he missed one earlier, and then that big play he stepped up and got that blitz coverage. Or which throw was that? I'm now thinking about the Chiefs, so I've moved on already from the Eagles. But to me, this is that swing game in the 3-game stretch we talked about. You beat the Eagles, as improbable as it was. You did it. Can you carry that moment? You've got a 2-game winning streak now. Can we go in and take care of business against the Chiefs here at home? If you get this game, then what you said, you predicted the Cowboys to make the playoffs and the Chiefs to miss the playoffs. And it may be this very game that decides that for both teams.
Yeah, so if I want my prediction to come true, lucky me, I want the Cowboys to win. That will keep that that going. I still feel really good about Dallas making the playoffs. I obviously feel a little less good about the Chiefs not making the playoffs. But you said it. If you can, against the Chiefs and or Lions, right? You got these 2 games coming up. If you just split them, you obviously would want to win them both. But if you split them, you then got the Vikings, Chargers, Commanders, Giants to end the season. You're going to be favored in all 4 of those games.
You could win them all.
You should win them all. I would even venture to guess. So if you split these 2 and you go 6-6-1,
10-6-1 get you in?
God, I want to say yes so bad. I don't know.
It will have to, because that's the only way they get in.
Right. It'll have to get them in. But in terms of tiebreakers, because 10-6-1 will be better than 10-7, right? So theoretically, these 10-win teams,
Maybe that tie gets them in the playoffs.
maybe the tie gets them in the playoffs. Thanks, Micah. So yeah,
we're gonna have to. I mean, listen, if you say which game can you lose, it's the AFC game, it's the Chiefs game, right? But then you have to go to Detroit and beat Detroit. But let's get one in the bank with Kansas City before we have to go to Detroit. That makes that game a little less meaningful for the Cowboys, possibly. But Detroit is a team that you're going to have to pass. So again, it becomes a math game at this point to go, okay, those last 4 games we should win, but the Cowboys will probably slip up in one of them. So if you could get Kansas City and Detroit, then you're ahead of schedule.
100%. And I think that's exactly, every Cowboys fan anywhere is going to be thinking exactly that. Please just get these 2. That way, when we inevitably lose to the Chargers or even the Commanders or Giants, it's okay. But I think for Dallas, just looking at this objectively, they are a much better team at home with Dak Prescott. And in these primetime games against marquee, you get, Philly, you get even the week 1 against Philly. It was a very, very competitive game, arguably a CeeDee Lamb drop away from a win. You get the Packers primetime game, the 40-40. So this team plays up to the lights. This will be, I said it earlier, this will probably be the most watched regular season game in the history of the NFL. The NFL couldn't have scripted this any better. We're going to have the Dallas Cowboys and the Kansas City Chiefs both come from behind against 2 contending teams for the season. They're going to look dead to the world to lose these 2 games. They're going to end up winning these 2 games. and then they're both going to come in to Thursday on Thanksgiving at 3:30.
Almost like it was scripted.
You cannot. I mean, there's going to be some people that are going to say it is. I promise you, because it's too perfect. It is absolutely too perfect, and I can't remember. They're going to break my heart, but I can't remember being this excited for a Thanksgiving game, and it's been a while.
Some people are already saying the NFL is rigged, and it's amazing the amount of games that for 3 quarters look out of reach. And then even the NFL Red Zone calls it the witching hour because wins become losses. And some people are like, now how can you stink it up for 3 quarters, then all of a sudden Bo Nix the thing and go in and win the fourth quarter by a lot? So is the NFL rigged, Nick?
No, I don't. I'll just say I hope not, because there's certainly, man, some of these bad beats.
Is this all a simulation?
Yeah. Maybe we're just in the Matrix. Maybe we don't even realize. I don't know. I hope not, just because I think it just makes it so much less. Although, if somebody just came out and said this whole thing is scripted, do they still get 9 billion viewers? Probably not. Or
wrestling does.
Well, I was gonna say, do they get the amount of?
Not 9 billion, guys.
I know it's not 9 billion. There's not even that many people, but it's not the same number of people watching. But it is still a very high number of people that will be interested in the outcome, that will be interested in what happened. They'll be invested. So no, I don't think the NFL is rigged. If somewhere, some down the line, someone proves that the NFL is rigged, I don't think I'll be shocked.
Yeah, that's a lot of coordination for it to be rigged. I don't think it's rigged either. Now, maybe a game or two here and there. Maybe if you're a Chiefs fan, you've benefited from that.
Well, Malik Neighbors put out a tweet that he deleted yesterday, basically saying the Giants are team tank all the way, and they're making us lose these things. Why would we do this and then that? And then they made him delete the tweet, but Malik thinks it.
Well, he thinks that the Giants are doing that, right? Not that the league called down,
No, no,
hey,
no.
Giants
Yeah.
are winning. Jameis, mess it up, please.
No. He thinks the Giants are doing it to the
Yeah.
Giants.
So, and that may be true. So there may be some of that kind of team tanking stuff. So some of that could be rigged, but there's no doubt that some of these big calls could be phantom calls, as we recall the 2006 NBA Finals and all that nonsense.
Pass pain.
I don't think it's rigged, but who are you picking? Is it Kansas City or Dallas? Who's going to win? Give me the score.
I think Dallas wins a very, very close game. I think this is an extremely close game. I like Dallas 27-24.
Okay.
What about you? What do you got?
Man, I'm going to go with my heart and pick the Cowboys here. And I think it's going to be similar, like 31-27, something like that. Like maybe that the Chiefs are driving at the end for a touchdown to win it, and our defense gets a stop. But something like that, or we drive down and score to win the game. Something to that effect. But it's going to be close, I believe. But if this is going to sound weird, it could be a blowout in the Cowboys' way.
Yeah, I think if it's going to be a blowout, I think that's the way it would go. I think they jump on them early, and then because it's short rest or a short week, it just gets away. I hope that doesn't happen the Chiefs' direction for the Cowboys.
Yeah.
I don't think at home that's, especially after what just happened, I don't think Dallas it'll feel like that. I wouldn't be shocked, I think, if Dallas blows out Kansas City.
Well, it's still Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes, and Mahomes, this is his home state. So I don't think we will get a blowout either way, but Mahomes is made of championship material. So I never want to count him out, but I'm going to say the Cowboys because they have to win in a close one. All right. So speaking of picks, Nick, how did Nick's picks do this week? Maestro, hit it. It's time for Nick's picks.
So here we go, man. Another, I don't even want to. I feel like every week. I feel like I'm jinxing this thing, but we went 3-1 this week.
Nice.
So we are now 18-6 overall. We're 10-2 in the last 3 weeks. The only one that we missed this week was what we've been talking about, was the Indianapolis Colts. That was the upset special to beat the Chiefs. And it looked good for 3.5 quarters, basically. So we missed the upset special, but yeah, 3-1 this week, 18-6 overall. And I've got a Thanksgiving Day special for you on this week's edition of Nick's Picks. These are all games on Thanksgiving. So we got the Ravens versus the Bengals.
Okay.
We're going to take the over 51.5. So Ravens and Bengals over 51.5.
So for that to be true, you have to lessen your hate of one of the Joes, Joe Flacco and Joe Burrow. They're going to have to perform.
Yeah, just for the record, I do hate Joe Flacco. I don't hate Joe Burrow. I think Joe Burrow is very good. It looks like, now I made this pick assuming that it was going to be Flacco, just for safety's sake. But it looks like we're getting Burrow's comeback, and Burrow and Jamar Chase absolutely own the Ravens in terms of scoring. Doesn't necessarily translate to wins necessarily, but they put up a lot of points in the last 4 meetings. Ravens versus Bengals, each game would have hit over 52 the last 4 times Ravens and Bengals have played. So this one feels very locky to me. This is a high confidence pick.
So you bet in the house.
Bet in the house on this one. We got the Dallas versus Kansas City game. We've got Dallas plus 3.5. So Dallas is a 3.5 point dog. I will take Dallas to cover. Not taking them outright.
Wait, you said they're 3.5 point underdogs?
That's right.
Dallas is?
That's right. So Dallas is getting 3.5 at home.
Vegas loves the Chiefs.
They really do. Except that the Chiefs don't love being a road favorite. They are 1-3 against the spread this year as a road favorite. So Dallas is 2-0 as a road underdog, or sorry, as a home underdog this year. Everything, which of course this always means when it zigs, it's going to zag. So all of this points to not working out, but I like Dallas 3.5 against Kansas City. Staying in Dallas and Kansas City, the over-under right now is 52. For the last 3 weeks, neither of these teams have even sniffed 50 points as an over-under combined. So I don't see how this game goes 52. Now, the prediction you just gave, as you were saying it, I was thinking, well, I hope he's wrong, because then my over-under pick is wrong, because I got 52 as the over-under. You gave 31-27. So we'll see, but I do like the under here, and it's more because of the last few weeks, both defenses have been playing a lot better. And then the last one is the upset special. You got Green Bay versus Detroit. Green Bay is the underdog at Detroit. I like Green Bay to win the game.
Wow. A little bit shaky. Green Bay's been, but so is Detroit.
So is Detroit, yeah.
And so that's interesting. So all Thanksgiving Day games.
All Thanksgiving Day games.
After you get your meal eaten, whether it's lunch, maybe you have lunch, then you have dinner and a leftover sandwich. You can make all this money, hypothetically, entertainment purposes only.
Oh yeah.
But you'll know in one day how your Knicks picks do.
That's right, one day. So just a quick little recap here. You got Dallas plus 3.5. You got Dallas and Kansas City to go under 52. You got the Ravens and the Bengals to go over 51.5. And you got Green Bay on the money line to beat Detroit straight up.
Wow. It's interesting that your Knicks picks record is much better than your debate record with me.
I mean, the Cooper Flag Dylan Harper was definitely me.
No,
the Luka Tony conversation was definitely you. The defensive trade conversation was you. The Pickens Lamb is me.
Oh, that's debatable.
No, not debatable.
Has Dylan Harper even played?
And then the all-time Spurs versus all-time Mav was easily me. So I'm 3-2.
No, I don't think that's true. I think you got to rewind the tape. You got revisionist history there. So, for the record on this podcast, you hate CeeDee Lamb, you hate Dak Prescott, you hate Quinnen Williams, but you love the Cowboys.
Yeah, you forgot about Joe Flacco, but yeah.
Well, he's not a Cowboy.
Oh, I see what you're doing there. Okay, yeah.
So well, I don't even know how you can love the Cowboys with all that hate.
I think it's just like in my DNA. I don't think I'm allowed to do anything else. I think it's just like ingrained at this point.
You need to get your DNA checked.
Yeah. Real quick, before we move on or you wrap up or whatever you're about to do, I'm just curious. For those of you that don't know, and I'm not calling you a picky eater, but you have some tendencies with your food.
It's true.
What's the Thanksgiving Day go-to? I got to what's the thing that you have to have, everything, no questions asked?
Well, that was going to be what's killing Jeff this week.
Oh,
So we can just
perfect. Let's
segue right
segue right
into
into it.
what's killing Jeff. All right. Thank you for playing the music, Maestro. The traditional Thanksgiving dinner is not something that I subscribe to.
Oh, Lord.
So the pressure is you got to have this traditional Thanksgiving dinner. And I told you before, we've tried different things. One year we made Italian food. One year we made Mexican food. One year we went out to eat, you know, and we've tried a lot of different things because I don't like turkey. I just don't like turkey. I don't like stuffing. I don't like gravy.
So you hate Thanksgiving?
No, I love Thanksgiving. I just the traditional food that comes along with Thanksgiving is it's a little bit blah
So it's
to
coming
me.
off on American, man.
Well, I mean, you're Native American.
That's what I was gonna say. We gotta
Yeah.
tread lightly here.
Yeah, well, you said it. So, I mean, Thanksgiving, if you really want to get down to it, was a really dark day for your tribe.
That's right. Yeah.
So maybe that's what's killing Nick. But for me, it's the food. It's I'm a picky eater. I have a palate of a 12-year-old. I got it. All right.
Chicken tendies all the way.
No, not chicken tendies, but close. But it's just all these anything that has a casserole, I'm out. No
So no green bean
casseroles.
casserole.
No, man. Why would you want that? Just eat the green beans.
I don't even know how we can keep
Yeah,
doing
I
this.
don't like cranberry sauce is okay, you know. But if you run down the traditional list, I don't eat that stuff.
Okay,
I'm a
wait a minute.
ham guy.
Okay, just real quick because you said that. So green bean casserole, you're out.
Yep,
Sweet potato casserole,
I can take or leave that.
the mushrooms and the nuts.
No, none of that. Just sweet potatoes.
No. I'm saying casserole.
No, nobody likes casseroles, dude. If you go to potlucks, what's the thing that's left over the most?
It's because there's so much of it, man.
No, it's 'cause
everybody makes
nobody knows
casserole.
what's in that stuff, man. So they stay away from it.
Okay, so you're out on green bean casserole. You're out on sweet potato casserole. You don't like. You can take or leave cranberries. Is that what you said?
No, I like cranberry sauce,
Cranberries,
but
okay.
what am I going to eat it on?
Okay. What about you said you don't like stuffing.
Don't like stuffing or dressing or gravy, the brown gravy.
I was about to say mashed potatoes and gravy.
I like mashed potatoes, but no
not with the
gravy.
gravy.
Not the brown stuff. I like the white gravy,
What's the difference?
the cream gravy. It's different. The brown gravy is more like a sauce, and the white gravy is more like gravy.
No turkey.
No turkey.
Now, have you ever had fried turkey?
Yes.
Okay, so it's just turkey.
Better than regular turkey.
But it's just all turkey. You're out.
Turkey, and if it's I hate dark meat.
Yeah. What about collard greens? Any collard greens?
No. Green beans are fine, and broccoli. I'll eat that.
Okay.
I'll eat mac and cheese.
That was gonna be my last one. Was mac and cheese.
And I eat ham.
So yeah, so palate of 12-year-old.
Corn. I like corn.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So corn was there at the first Thanksgiving, so that's my tradition.
I think that's my nephew's menu.
But the pressure to you got to eat this stuff, you got to like this stuff. Now, one thing I do miss is my mom used to make homemade noodles.
Okay.
And that was a tradition. I don't know how it started, but I think I was the only one that liked them in my whole family. I think maybe my oldest daughter liked them a little bit, but my aunt may still make them. But that's a different subject. But for me, it's that the pressure that's what's killing me is you get all these people with all these different thoughts about what you should have on Thanksgiving, and most people like my wife loves the traditional Thanksgiving dinner. I think my son is with me. He's a ham guy, but he'll eat turkey. But he won't eat any of that other stuff that I just mentioned. Casseroles, I don't think he eats. Do you eat casseroles, Luke? Well, that's by a hair maybe, but yes, he would eat more stuff than I would. So
doesn't like side. Maestro doesn't like the sides.
And that's I like sides.
That's like 90% of the.
Yeah.
Okay. So just bread and protein. Just give me the bread and the protein.
But we're getting out the best part of Thanksgiving. That's the desserts.
Desserts. I was about to say now we got to move into
pumpkin pie.
Okay.
I love pumpkin pie. I love apple pie. I love cherry pie. No pecan pie.
Okay. What about chocolate pie?
Oh yeah, chocolate cream pie.
Yeah, chocolate cream pie.
Oh, of course.
Big in my family. Chocolate cream pie is big in my family.
Yeah, I don't know that was its original Thanksgiving.
I don't think it was either, but it's what I've grown up with, so it's big for us.
And it's interesting. Different cultures have different traditions and foods. But for me, I've never really been a big traditional Thanksgiving food guy. And what's killing me is the reaction I get when I tell people that. We just had a potluck at work, and I don't do potlucks. I just don't do potlucks. I don't know what people are putting in there. These people might hate me as a boss. I mean, it's true, right?
Think more about using them.
Maybe. No, maybe, but I mean, I just, food I'm real particular about.
Yeah, I mean, I get that. I think for me, I'm not a picky eater at all. I will try anything once, and most things I actually enjoy. There's only a couple of things that I can tell you I absolutely hate and have nothing to do with Thanksgiving. I hate olives. Never liked olives. Don't.
Why are you bringing that up,
I,
dude?
I'm just
It's
saying.
not even related to
I'm
Thanksgiving.
just saying. There's only a couple of things that I won't eat. I say that to say it's easier for me to make my next point, which is for me, Thanksgiving is always about having that perfect plate of everything I just mentioned right as kickoff with the entire family. Half of them hate the Cowboys, half of them love it. And just that scene. It doesn't matter what household I'm in, it seems like.
Yeah.
You've got the split down the middle.
Well, it's the life. Cowboys, you either love them or hate
Right,
them.
right. And so for me, having that perfect plate of food of just everything stacked as high as you can get it, and then going back for just one piece of pie,
No.
pretty much
One
apple.
pie?
Yeah, because I mean, well, now mind you, I'm eating through all 3 games. We got breakfast for the first one, brunch, we got the early dinner, and then the seconds, the moist maker and the Ross Geller special, the end of the night. So yeah, man, to me it's I guess I hear what you're saying, the pressure of it. I don't agree with you at all. I understand what you're
Yeah,
saying.
you're one of those people putting pressure on other people to eat these
100%.
traditional foods.
Absolutely.
I'm gonna tell Kyle to put an olive in your plate this Thanksgiving. Just sneak one in there.
I'll find it. I'll sniff it
It'll be
out.
under your mashed potatoes.
I'm like a German shepherd
You'd be like,
searching for the cocaine. I'll find it every time.
dude, is that another tradition of yours? The
What?
cocaine search on Thanksgiving?
That's just like that's a normal analogy. You just took somewhere totally
No,
different.
we're talking about Thanksgiving traditions, and you said you're like a German shepherd sniffing for cocaine.
That's what you heard me say.
Yeah. Well, here's the only correlation there is that cocaine's white and so are mashed potatoes.
That's exactly why I said it.
Well, listen, I will tell you this about Thanksgiving. I love the holiday. I love the desserts. I love the rolls. I do like that. But I'm a ham guy. Now, do you eat the same meal for Christmas?
No ham on Christmas. No turkey.
So,
Ham, color. It's a basically an entire. There's some similar. There's some carryovers, but for the most part, it's a totally different dinner.
yeah, so we eat basically the same dinner. But there is turkey. It's not like we don't have turkey because there's people in my family that eat turkey. But why not some pizza or fried chicken, man?
That just sounds wrong. We'll do that on Friday for the college games, but
Yeah.
no, we don't. Yeah, no, we gotta have the traditional setup. And I think it's also just from a tradition standpoint, and I would imagine this is the same here. It's the going around and what everyone's grateful for. I always love that. I feel like that's something that we shouldn't wait one day a year to do.
I'm always nervous to ask that around my family.
The maestro, I think, just gave you a thumbs up or
Yeah.
something akin to
Yeah,
it.
something was up. Well, look, I hope all of y'all have your great food traditions and you love them. And don't bow to the pressure of society that says you must eat turkey on Thanksgiving. And maybe it's like the Chick-fil-A cows say, eat more chicken. Maybe I need to start that with the Thanksgiving turkey is eat more ham.
Yeah, you know what? Because we get so many of these sports debates where everyone's just coming for one of us in the clips that we make, Maestro. We need to throw this up with just some. Let's just have some fun with what are the off the wall Thanksgiving Day foods that everyone must have. I'm curious.
Yeah.
I maybe incorporate one or two myself this year and see how it
You
goes.
just taking over my segment now?
No, hey man, I'm just saying.
You just taking over what's killing Jeff?
Well, it sounds like what's killing you is your Thanksgiving Day Grinch.
No, not a Thanksgiving Day Grinch. I just will not bow to the pressure of the man telling me I got to eat turkey.
Wasn't that the Grinch's whole point? He was kind of upset about the.
No, the Grinch didn't have any love. His whole life he'd been shunned. I've been loved.
Isn't that
I'm
what you?
lovable.
So then why do you hate Thanksgiving?
I don't hate Thanksgiving. I hate the pressure of eating traditional turkey and all that casserole nonsense. Now the Grinch, I would be a Grinch if I was forced to eat casserole, Nobody likes casseroles, guys. It's like kind of like a fruitcake at Christmas. Don't do it. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying. But these Thanksgiving Grinches are saying, if you don't eat turkey, you're weird.
Yeah, I think just like the Grinch couldn't see himself sitting outside of Whoville and having all the problems he was having.
Because he doesn't know love.
But I
His
don't know.
heart grew 3 times that day. Don't you remember?
Maybe one Thanksgiving it'll happen to you, and you'll take a picture of your big Thanksgiving plate with the green bean casserole, and
That will never happen.
Maestro says the heart grew 3 times, and
No.
your stomach's gonna go 3
My
times.
stomach won't grow because I ain't putting that nasty casserole down my pie hole, and I'm not shoving turkey down my throat. I'm eating general things that are pretty good portions and saving my calories for dessert.
You may be onto something about What's Killing Jeff segment being taken over here.
That's right. So, happy Thanksgiving to all of you and your people out there. I hope you eat what you want on Thanksgiving and don't bow to the pressure of these people that make you feel bad for not eating turkey on Thanksgiving, whether it's fried, whether it's baked, whether it's, I don't know what else you do with a turkey, but rotisserie,
Smoked.
whatever it is, smoked, whatever it is. You don't have to have turkey, guys. If you want brisket, if you want steak, whatever you want, do you this Thanksgiving. But most of all, count your blessings and be thankful for the family that you still have in your life. And don't forget those that have gone ahead into the next life. So that's What's Killing Jeff for this week. Okay, look, we are way out of time. Way out of time. We still have college football to talk about. I want to talk about the Wings getting the number 1 draft pick, which is, a little bit more easier to get the number 1 pick in the WNBA than the NBA. And then I wanted to talk a little Mavs and Spurs, but we didn't get to it. So we'll have to save that for next time. And who knows, maybe another WWE edition. Got a lot of positive feedback on the WWE
For
show.
sure.
But thank you for tuning in to this episode. We're going to go ahead and cut it short right here. And we may pop on a bonus episode later this week.
Love it.
But again, thank you very much. Happy Thanksgiving to you and your family. And until next time, we'll see you later.